What's up, everybody? I'm Scott,
I'm Jason.
and you're listening to Liquid Carnage. What's up, my friend?
Oh, nothing much. How are you doing, my friend Scotty?
It is good. As everyone knows, this is pre-recorded between my vacation coming back from New Orleans and your vacation going to Mexico. So we did happen to catch one day where neither of us was traveling to get this week's episode going. So Happy New Year. This is the second episode of 2020. So we will be back next week with a fresh current event episode, and I can tell you there's a lot going on in the world.
Yes, and we are getting dangerously close to the completion of year 3, my friend.
Oh my gosh, year 3 of Liquid Carnage.
Yeah, we have 12 episodes left before we are officially starting year 4.
You know, wasn't it like after 3? Is it 3 or 4 seasons in TV and go to syndication?
Yeah, we're about ready to go into syndication. Yeah,
is that what it is? You know, someone I once read that a famous TV star said the goal for a TV show is to get into syndication because that means you never have to work another day in your life from the residual checks.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the base salary to get bumped a little bit, so this will be perfect, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's the goal. Here's the goal. The goal for 2020 is 5 regular listeners, up from 4.
Well, it's so funny because my mom. So this is how you know that you have switched positions. So this year, my mom, she lives in Vegas, and her friends and her bought tickets to some sort of tribute concert for like the Jersey Boys or something like that. And she was partying until 1:30 in the morning. Noreen and I were in bed by 10:30.
Holy cow.
So now the mom is out living the boy. I tell you, man.
It's funny,
crazy.
As you get older, sometimes it's just easier to go to bed. You don't have to be out all night. You know, it's
yeah, exactly. And of course, I don't know how it happened, but I guess she either gets a horoscope or someone sent her horoscope. And 2020 is supposed to be a really good year for me financially.
For you?
Yeah, financially, she said.
Oh, so, that's good.
So
that's
I got
good.
that going. I got that going for me.
That's right. So you're a Leo, right?
I'm a Leo. That's right.
So you Leos better be in store because apparently, if you're a Leo, it's going to be a good year for you.
Yeah. So I had that going for me.
That's fantastic, man. Yeah, as everyone knows, I was down in New Orleans for New Year's. It was a crazy place. It wasn't as wild as I thought it was going to be. There were still some moments. I did go on an adventure to find my tarot cards to be read, as we talked about in an episode a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And that was an adventure all in itself. So I'll talk about what the tarot card reader predicted for me. Oh. But to get to that point, I should point out, if you've never been to the French Quarter in New Orleans, New Orleans in general is it's very much a mix of religions. Okay. It's very, very Catholic oriented, and then they have the Protestants, but there's also voodoo culture, the satanic worshiping, oh man, and all the other different kinds. There's a lot of dark religions as much as there are light religions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I never would have thought New Orleans is a kind of a mecca for all those different kinds of religions like that. So that's kind of interesting that you describe it that way.
Yeah, and really, if you think about it, if Hogwarts was a real thing, the Harry Potter world was real, Hogwarts is outside of London. America's Hogwarts would be in New Orleans, just based on their history, their lore, their love of the occult. It's a very dynamic place, is the best way to put it.
Well, and frankly, it would make sense because in the beginning of the country, all the cultures ended up in New Orleans. It was a port for every single country's population in the United States during the early settlement of the country. So that would totally make sense that New Orleans would have such a diverse culture and mixture of religion.
And that's kind of what, I came to that conclusion of. And I felt like it'd be fun to get tarot cards read down there because it's the new year. You want to see what's happening. But you don't want to. But everybody down there seems to have that option, especially this time of year. I've never noticed it more until you start looking for it. But there's a lot more occult shops in the French Quarter than I realized.
Okay.
Normally, I would just stop by Marie Laveau's, the voodoo queen down there, because it's a very cool spot. And they had one, so I tried to go there, but they were booked out.
Oh.
And there were a few other voodoo shops I stopped in at and whatnot, and they were full. And there's a wait list, and you can't really guarantee that you're going to be able mind if your time comes around to get your cards read, because there's other things to be doing, like partying.
Okay, I see. That makes sense.
So we were wandering through this side street. We found a vampire store.
Oh God.
Yeah, exactly. Vampire culture
Oh.
down there is a very big thing. Our friends Chris and Vicky went to the vampire ball last year during Halloween.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
And I think I talked about this last year's episode, and they got very freaked out very quickly because a lot of people down there really get into that culture, and that party got 6 different kinds of weird within the first hour.
Oh God, yeah.
Okay. So we go to this. So my friend, we go to this vampire store, and I say, and they have tarot card readings written on the door. So I asked the lady working, it's like, hey, do you have a reader here today? And this is New Year's Eve. And she said, no, we don't. But if you want, there's a private party in this bar from 4 to 8 with all of our tarot card readers. Give them this card and say the vampire sent you, and they'll let you into the back room to this private party to have your tarot cards read.
Really?
Yeah. And it struck me as weird because everyone there had a price for readings, anywhere from $20 to $100, depending on time. Okay. And this lady's saying all these tarot card readers are going to be there, and they'll do it for free if you show up between 4 and 8. You just have to give the secret password at the secret door.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And that struck me as a little weird. You know, and maybe it was just being a little over paranoid, knowing some of the cultures and whatnot. And I've always wanted to be invited to like one of those backroom parties, but this one just had that weird vibe to it, you know?
It sounds like you could be stepping into something that's beyond your comfort zone.
It is. And normally, like, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But looking at it, I was like, hey, you know what? I think I'd rather pay the money and do this out in the open than go to some bar, go down to the basement, and then, you know, hopefully the private party goes exactly the way they say it's going to. Because it feels like either it's going to be a really cool on the level, like little small party, or you're losing a kidney.
And either way could be a story for Liquid Carnage.
It really could have been, but had the kidney thing happened, we'd be on hiatus till probably forever. So
no, we would have kept going. We just had to time it around your dialysis.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. So, that's right. We walked out of there. The bar they're talking about happened to be right around the corner from the shop, and it ended up being right next to Marie Laveau's shop, the old house of the Voodoo Queen, which made it a little bit weirder for me because of all the practices that went on in Marie Laveau's house. To be in the bar literally right next door to that, I just didn't get a good vibe, so I passed on the party.
Oh, you did? Oh, man.
I did, man. It was
wow. That would have been a seriously legit tarot reading, dude. I have a feeling there might have been other things that would have been drawn out, but oh well, lost opportunity. But
you know, you call it a lost opportunity, but really, if you look at the situation as a whole, like I said, everyone's trying to charge for tarot card readings, but this person's saying, go to this party, all of our readers will be there, and they'll do it for free, but I'd have to pay to have it done in the shop. It just sounded weird. Like, not all the dots were connecting, you know?
Okay, I want to reference a movie story after you're done with your story, okay?
All right. So, at that point, when we walked by the bar and kind of looked at it, like, we'll pass. We started going down the street, deciding, trying to figure out, like, where you're going to get your tarot cards read, or where we were going to. And there were a bunch of people in Jackson Square with the little specialty spots set up. And then we got to this one corner, and there were 2 gentlemen trying to do readings on one side, and this lady just kind of off to the side on a side street sitting there. And I went up to her and asked, and she gave me a price. It sounds very bad when you say it like that.
Yeah, it did. But go on.
But I said, okay. And so we sat down, and she proceeded to have me shuffle the cards and draw 15 cards, and we just kind of went from there. And it all got very interesting because a lot of people will say in this thing, you take out of it what you will. You know, you draw your own conclusions from this. And I believe some of that to a degree, especially the whole Madame Cleo scenario we talked about.
Okay.
But this lady had some very weird predictions. Not weird, but things I wouldn't have predicted, and then said some stuff that nobody there that was with us would have known.
The first question I always ask, because we've talked about it so many times, is did the tarot reading mention the little girl?
No.
Okay, so this is the first, because normally you say that you are told that there's a little girl that's kind of with you.
There's a difference between a psychic and a tarot card reader.
Oh, I see. Okay, true. Okay.
So there's the difference there. So first off, the reader suggested that I will be mentoring between now and March sometime, have the opportunity to mentor a teenager, if not foster a teenager, for a while.
Okay.
Which I thought was kind of weird. It was like, all right,
it's pretty specific.
Yeah. So something will come up to where you will have the option or the opportunity to be approached to mentor someone between the ages of 12 and 15, 12 and 16, someone that needs that influence, and you may be asked to do that, and maybe the case of a fostering or whatever else. Said financially, it'd be a good year for me. That fostering should help, so that's nice. And she did give me that time frame. Like yours have that time frame of certain days. I have from Capricorn to Aries, which is from now until March. Or Pisces. So from now until March.
Yeah.
So she did mention that. She mentioned that I am exactly like my great-grandfather, which I thought was weird because only my grandma ever said that.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. That part was a little like, okay. And she kept saying, Is there a family member that's passed on that has a J in their name that starts with a J? She's getting 4 letters, was in the military. And I just kind of nodded with it. And my Uncle Jack, who's since passed, was in the military out of high school. Said that he's looking over me, so that's nice.
Oh, that's good. One thing in your favor. Okay.
Also, that's not anything I've ever actually talked about. That he was in the military. Just weird.
First time I've heard it referenced. Yeah.
Yeah, weird odds and end things like that. She picked up on and went with. I've got changes coming in the next year and a half. I just can't be quick to make those changes. I need to be methodical and learn to be more methodical and not so quick on the draw. And just she had a lot of insight like that to where some things I will keep personal with it, but it was time for me to just change is coming and be smart about it. The fostering thing was a little weird.
Was there anything bad that came out of it that woke you up to?
No, I don't think so. I didn't take anything out as like, whoa, that's weird. Okay. Like that's not something that I want to do or want to happen. No, it seemed all very fine and very natural to me. She's a very nice lady. For everything that was said and done, I think it was money well spent just to kind of get some insight and get some fun. And I thought about going to a different one to kind of compare and contrast to see if certain things came through. But there's a certain type of fate I just didn't want to tempt with it either. It's because it was done in fun, and you don't want to hamper that and really make it worse.
I agree. You don't want to have something be said where you're like, okay, this is totally bogus. I get you. I get you.
Yeah, but so yeah, it was fun just to kind of see some of the things she was able to draw out without me giving any information, like the family member in the military being just like my great-grandfather, things like that. She didn't say anything about a hit podcast, so that kind of bummed me out. But
yeah, I was kind of hoping for that.
So was I. I was like, that's the big break. But she did say if I do have plans to do some kind of major change, whether it's a car or a house or get our show on Sirius XM, is to plan it out, and it's going to take about a year and a half because we have to do it right and think it all through. So
okay, in that case, that we have plenty of time. Then.
We have plenty of time. So
I was going to say that the story I was thinking about was it just goes to show you that the way that we look at life, and some people look at that situation differently, where you look at it as a private party where you're kind of have to do like a knock on the door and give a safe word to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Reminded me of the movie. Have you ever seen Detroit Rock City?
Yeah.
So they're going to Detroit to go to see the Kiss concert, and there's the girl hitchhiker that they slow down to pick up. And the one guy says, "Oh my gosh, that's how a lot of horror movies start." And his friend said, "Yeah, but that's how a lot of pornos start too."
Yeah.
So this is where I look at you, Scott, is that you could have had the porno or you could have had the horror movie. You saw it as a horror movie situation. Other people might look at it as a porno.
Yeah, and I just looked at it from the horror situation, because you look at the bar, you look at the scenario where these people they want your money to do this, but all of a sudden, if they're in a room in a basement at a private party, they'll do it for free. Where there's no acts, there's one way in and one way out. It just didn't feel on the up and up.
And see, I look at that situation and think that is probably the most authentic tarot reading you could have gotten, because the other people, they charge money. They kind of make it a business. This was like one of those. What was that movie that was out there with Bill Murray, The Razor's Edge, where you make that long journey to get to something that's more powerful than anyone could possibly imagine. This is what it sounded like to me that I would have done. I would have wanted the porno. You wanted the horror movie, and that's fine.
No, trust me, I would have hoped for the porno, but with my luck, I would have gotten the horror.
Yeah. I think it's like anything. I've been having some personal issues dealing with a personal situation but it was eye-opening to me that I'm having an argument with an ex-wife, and she and I can look at the same things that happened in a certain situation and get totally opposite meanings of what actually happened or whose fault that was. And I am perplexed that it happens all the time. Like I think about anything that you have a disagreement with someone. In most cases, you are not arguing the facts. You're arguing the interpretation of those facts.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say, well, you're wrong, because, well, no, I'm not wrong. I'm looking at the same facts. So my interpretation is different than yours, but that doesn't mean that I'm wrong. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're wrong. How they determine, like, okay, but someone's got to be wrong and someone's got to be right. But we're looking at the same facts. It's mind-boggling to me. Just like that situation where I would look at that and think, oh, I'm totally going to the private party. You look at the same situation, no, it's sketchy. That doesn't fly.
Yeah, and had there been a bigger number of us, I would have gone to the party. But at the time, there were only two of us out on this little excursion. It's a numbers game.
Now, did you do the tarot reading by yourself, or did the other person listen in?
No, I did it by myself.
You did it by yourself, yeah.
I did it by myself, and then I provided the same courtesy later on when she did hers. So it was.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. No, I totally got you. Yeah, no, Noreen and I did ours together, but I think it was more to validate that it was or wasn't bullshit.
Yeah,
because sometimes when you're in the reading, you're not listening necessarily to nuances or things. You're listening to, you're listening to certain aspects of it, but you might miss something else. So I trust Noreen with that, kind of information. And so I had her with me, but so I understand you'd want to do it by yourself. It's a personal thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And that's kind of something, when it came to picking the reader, it turned into one of those, okay, now that we've kind of gone through the stores and seen how everyone's trying to do it, you wanted to get that vibe and that feel about the person before you ask them to do the reading. So it became more about trying to size up the tarot card reader, to see what kind of vibe you got. Because, like I said, there were two gentlemen offering the same service. They're right across the street, but like you look at them, they look like they're just two guys just there because they were bullshitting. They both had their tables out. Like, no caring though. This one was kind of sitting off to the back of the street a little bit by herself. It had more of an authentic vibe. So I don't regret it at all. I think I made the right choice. And when the other reading was done, it was in a very similar situation in a different part of town, with a very different reader. But that reading, from what we talked about, was pretty accurate as well. So it was kind of fun.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah, to see what they draw out.
So let's mind boggle you with this. So we talk about that part of the reading has to be what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it, right?
Yeah.
So does that say then that someone who is willing to put in the time, those truths that come out of the tarot cards are more accurate, even if it's bad stuff, than someone who doesn't put any of the energy into it to believe it or not?
Well, I think when you have to pick the cards, your energy gets put into it.
Oh, good point. Okay.
So yeah, I think because what she had in both instances, we had to pick our cards at random. Yes. Okay. So I believe with that, when you're picking those cards, it's almost like you're laying out like kind of a blueprint of what your year is going to be. Not that it's going to happen that exact way, but you pick a certain card, and that's the interpretation of that card for that period of time, and how it all ties into everything else.
I've always thought that the idea of truth was such a perplexing concept, because how much of truth is solely based off of the person's life experiences, their beliefs, their interpretations, that makes it true. So, we talk about what's an absolute truth. Is there one? Because how much of it is based on the interpretation of me listening to it?
Well, that's true. It's like you could show the same movie to 15 different people and get 15 different lessons out of that movie.
When I read the Bible recently, I don't know if I told you that, but I finished reading the Bible finally. I read the whole book, front to back, cover to cover. And one of the biggest things that was eye-opening to me was that when you read the Bible, you can read the same story and come up with 15 different interpretations of that story.
That's why there's 15 different versions of Christianity.
Right. And it was, so I can see when someone says something that, religion made me do this, or religion told me to do that. I totally understand it now, because the way that you interpret the book it's subject to an interpretation based on our beliefs or based on our experiences. And that's why two people can read the same passage and totally disagree with each other.
No, I agree completely. And it's something that happens more and more in today's world. It's it's why we have, liberal media and conservative media. It's what your beliefs are, is what you listen to, what you pay attention to.
Well, and like with your tarot cards, the biggest thing is, what you do with whatever information you receive. If you read your tarot cards in the reading and it says, hey, go kill 15 people, then that's not good. I mean, there is a fine line between how we interpret those things and what is an absolute truth to these reading cards. But if it invests you to help someone between the ages of 12 and 15, all the better. Or if it,
right.
If it keeps you from being rash and doing something stupid that is going to cause you pain, all the better, no matter how you interpret it.
And I think that's what it comes down to in this case. It's someone can just put I don't want to call them facts, but put these statements out there, and you can either become hyper aware and hypersensitive toward them. Like, I could be looking around at everyone I meet, like, wait, does this have something to do with what the cards read? And really mess my life up from that perspective, or can I just keep that in the back of my head, saying, all right, they said this could happen, and now I'm just kind of curious to see like what direction my life goes, to see if this actually becomes a reality. And I'm curious between now and March to see what transpires, to see if that actually does become a reality.
I have to.
The other part, the other one that I thought was very interesting is that she pointed out that someone from my past over the next year will come knocking on the door. And it's okay if I let them in for like a beer and a hey, how's it going? But don't let them stay.
Okay.
So no, I'm curious to see if that happens, who that person is.
Right, and also it could be something as simple as an old college buddy, or it could be something more personal, like an X person in your life, right? Yeah, exactly. Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like, but it's all, like you said, it's all up to interpretation. Had you heard that, it could have been something completely different.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that was very specific and actually did happen for me was the unexpected stock going up. I mean, it had not been up in months. It went up that day or those 2 days, came right back down, and has never been up that level again. So I believed it. I knew that it was real. What I didn't believe or didn't take into consideration was when she said it was going to happen this day, or this day, that meant that you had to also act that day, or that day, because by the time that 3-day period was over, the opportunity was gone.
Yeah, it's funny how human nature works with this. That's really how our culture goes today. Everything's very interpretational. Nothing is black and white anymore. But the problem is everybody thinks their version is the right version.
Well, and I think that's the biggest thing that I was dealing with. My personal issue is that, it's hard for me not to say you're wrong, you're incorrect, when I realize that's her interpretation of what happened. I feel it's wrong compared to mine. She feels mine is wrong compared to hers. So there is no absolute truth with that. But what I'm finding hard is it's still an opinion. Whether you're right or wrong is an opinion. It's not the law of the land. But there's a judge that can determine whether it's right or wrong. There's a judge that can determine, who's right and who's wrong. So someone does have an absolute truth. We just have to find that authority.
Yeah, but even at that point, that's still the judge's interpretation of what the truth is based on the evidence presented to them.
And maybe their interpretation of the law.
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess it's a rabbit hole you can just jump down.
Believe me, I've tried to jump down it, like finding out what does truth actually mean. And it takes me about 20 minutes to say, you know what, I can't do this right now. I got to go watch some TV or something.
So that's a great way to segue into this. So if you have ever had a disagreement with somebody that's just, was it really dumb, or did it break up a relationship with someone? Tell us about it. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. Have you ever disagreed with our EP's tweets about our notes from the show? Tell us about it. Tell him about it at Liquid_EP on Instagram and Twitter.
All right. Well, just to let you know, Scott, I am currently in, I believe I'm in Puerto Vallarta.
It's Thursday when everyone else is listening to this, so you are probably in Puerto Vallarta. I am back at work.
Yep.
Wishing I was in Puerto Vallarta.
Yes, I'm in Puerto Vallarta. I'm probably tasting some tequila somewhere. So, hola, ¿cómo está? ¿En dónde está el baño?
Yes.
Very good.
Well put. Remember the last time we went to Puerto Vallarta? Was it 9 years ago?
Yeah, now? It was a long time ago. No, I don't. No, it wasn't 9 years ago. It was
2011.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Dude, we're getting old, bro.
We're getting old, bro. It is terrible.
Your mother raised you wrong. That's what she did.
That's what it is, man.
Oh gosh.
I hope all of our listeners are still with us after the chaos we've had over the last couple weeks trying to get our recordings done. We do this for each other, but most of all, we do this to hopefully entertain you for a half hour a week while you're at your work or in the gym or in the car. We appreciate each and all of you. Tom appreciates you too. Even though if he questions your real existence, we do see the numbers. We do have the so thank you to everybody for sticking with us through almost 3 seasons now.
Awesome. That was awesome, dude. Well, hey, thanks for listening, everybody. We really appreciate you. That was Scott. I am Jason. And as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some Liquid Carnage.